Welcome to the sixth module of Global Trade and Politics. And today we'll be talking about globalization and its discontents. And globalization is one key concept that is common in when we talk about global trade, and it has shaped trade and politics worldwide, linking economics through goods and services, capital, and information flow. So this interconnectedness creates winners like multinational corporation and export-driven economics. However, it also has losers such as displaced workers and marginalized regions. So the rise of anti-globalization also and political backlash fuels populism in many countries. So this module, we will explore this globalization complex impact on trade and politics, helping you as a student to understand the balance between economic integration and political transformation. What is globalization? We can define globalization in two main aspects, and this is the economic integration, under economic integration, and also under social and political dimension. Under economic integration, globalization is the growing interconnectedness of economies through trade, investment, and technology, enabling cross-border flows of goods, service, capital, and knowledge. And according to the World Bank and IMF, it involves expanding global networks that links individuals and institutions across nations. And under the social and political dimension, the sociologist Anthony Giddens highlights globalization as intensifying worldwide social relations and shrinking time and space in interaction. Thomas Friedman gives his description of globalization as the integration of markets and communication technologies that enable faster, broader connection and among people and countries. What are the impact of globalization on trade? The impact of globalization on trade are quite much, and we'll be talking about a number of them. First is trade expansion, and this is the advancement in transport and communication have boosted international trade, allowing countries to specialize and access larger markets. Also, it has impact on the global supply chains, the complex supply chain source material worldwide, and improving efficiency, but increasing vulnerability to disruptions like pandemic or conflict. Also, it has impact on the emerging economics growth. Countries like China and India have grown by integrating into global markets, reducing poverty and attracting investment. Also, it has impacted the consumer benefit. And by this, I mean that global competition offers consumers more choice and lower price, enhancing purchasing power worldwide. Also, globalization's impact on trade is on also the industrialization, and developed country face job loss as manufacturing moves to cheaper labor markets, causing social unrest. And it also has impact on trade in terms of trading balances, and the persistent imbalances exist between high consumption and export-oriented nations, with some developing countries vulnerable to price fluctuation. And lastly, it has impact on the economic vulnerability, which means that global independence exposes economies to shocks that can ripple worldwide. And this financial crisis or supply chain breakdown. What are the effects of politics on globalization? What are the political effects of globalization? Um, First, the effect is greater international independence. It leads to greater international independence, and countries collaborate on global issues like climate change and pandemics, balancing sovereignty with collective actions. Also, it also leads to rise in global governance. Um, the likes of UN, WTO, and IMF mediate international relations, but face criticism for favoring powerful states. And for it also um, has an effect of influencing non-state actors. Uh, Multinational cooperation and NGOs influence politics beyond borders, shaping debates on human rights and the environment. And in terms of state sovereignty erosion, global economies forces limit policy making autonomy, fueling nationalist and sovereignty focused movements. As part of the political effect of globalization, political backlash and populism is another one that we need to critically look into. And when we talk about political backlash and populism, we mean that the effect it has effect on economic displacement, rise of nationalism, populist movement, and then establishment sentiment. And for the political, the political backlash, there are job losses and wage stagnation, which have driven public frustration and political activism against globalization. So this is an effect that is very much important that we look into. So these job losses and wage stagnation has brought about public frustration and political activism against globalization. And also we see a rise in nationalism as a result. So the populist leader promotes protectionism and sovereignty to protect local industries and jobs. And also populist movements, events like Brexit and Trump's election reflect anti-globalization sentiment, emphasizing national pride and economic justice. And for anti-establishment sentiment, mistrust of elites and global institutions grows as voters seek alternative addressing local concerns. We have the winners and the losers in global trade. And when we talk about the winners, who are the winners in global trade? They are exports-oriented economies like China, and Germany. Um, Also, there are multinational corporations who leverages on global supply chain. Also, skilled professionals in technology and finance. And lastly, consumers enjoying diverse, affordable goods. These are the winners in global trade. However, the losers in global trade are the import competing industries in developed countries, the low-skilled workers facing job insecurity, the marginalized low-income countries with limited exports, and the small and medium enterprise struggling against MNCs. We have the anti-globalization movement, and what are they, and We have the economic inequality critique, and these activists argue globalization favors wealthy nations and cooperation, worsening poverty in developing countries. So they have the opinion that globalization favors the wealthy and um, nations and corporations, and that it results in poverty in developing nations. Also, we have the resistance to corporate powers, and this movement challenge multinational corporation for undermining labor rights and prioritizing profit over social concerns. The defense of sovereignty, they are the opposition. They are the opposition to international institution perceived as limiting um, national economic control. So this movement uh, have opposition to international institutions as they perceive them as limiting national economic control. And lastly, the environmental and cultural concern. And the criticism is that globalization's environmental impact and threat to cultural diversity. So they believe that globalization's environmental impact and threats to the cultural diversity. In conclusion, globalization has transformed the world economy by creating unprecedented interconnectedness. Yet, it has also generated significant economic disparity and political tension. So while multinational corporations and export-driven economies have thrived, many workers and marginalized regions have suffered job losses and economic instability, fueling anti-globalization movements and populist backlash. So henceforth, policymakers must address these inequalities through inclusive trade policies, stronger labor protection, and sustainable development strategies to ensure globalization benefits all stakeholders equitably while mitigating its disruptive effects on society and political system. Next module, we will look into trade development and inequality. Trade development and inequality. Thank you.